Hi, how are you? I'm Anthony from Cypher House. Last week I told you about the start of my journey with the Uncharted Lancaster treasure hunt. My team had to decipher clues in a diary, go to important drop points, and get necessary items from people who worked there. And we had to hike on some trails up to Buzzard's Roost, as well as to 4 key points of interest in the Welsh Mountains, all in our quest to find Abe Buzzard's treasure. In this video, the quest continues. I'm going to tell you about weeks 2 and 3 of the treasure hunt, so buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. But before we jump into the week 2 activities, I have one important addition to make that I forgot to mention at the end of the last video. When we completed week 1's activities, finding the 4 plaques in the Welsh Mountains, we received this, the Alchemist's Ledger. To unlock, observe the hue, emerald spheres, 1,000 bold. What does that mean? We weren't sure, but we decided to save it and thought maybe it would come in handy later. Week 2 began once again with another Monday missive sent to our inbox from Adam Zern. However, unlike last week where we had a bit of a task to do before week 2 actually began, this time it said, you will collect your widget mid-adventure, so be on the lookout. So we didn't have anything to do until week 2 officially began on April 19th. We began week 2 by examining the new materials that had just been posted to the website. In particular, we noticed that the word Friday was bolded, as well as the code word caged seemed to be important. Okay, so Friday's bolded here, and we have the code word caged. So we have this page of our journal that has the days of the week at the top in, is that German?
Yes.
Yeah, in German. So we need to go to Friday, and then we need to use the rows C-A-G-E-D to get our 5-digit code that we're going to enter into the site. However, the most obvious path turned out to be incorrect. That password didn't work to unlock the page forward. He doesn't seem very confident at the beginning of this passage that it was a Friday. He's like, I think it was a Friday. So I'm wondering if we just do caged for whatever day of the week it actually was. So I did some trial and error on the different days of the week and discovered that Tuesday was the day that actually unlocked the web page. We would discover later that this made sense with the timeline of when Abe Buzzard's story happened, and that January 20th of that year would have been on a Tuesday, but in the moment it was just faster for us to just check all the days of the week. So we continued to see what new materials we had unlocked. Along an avenue of wheat, a shop of stories calls, with sprawling porches and yellow walls. Beneath its eaves, pages sleep, and in your pocket, keep a quarter deep. Turn the knob full circle, a 360 spin, for a capsule holds the prize within. What you seek will then be found. Use your book to no longer confound. Last video I mentioned this page of our book that had 3 quarters and said, son, always make sure you keep 3 quarters in our pocket. The mention of quarters in this paragraph seemed to indicate that it was time for us to finally use at least one of those coins. And I had my theories based on some other clues in the poem about what that could mean. It sounds like we're going to be putting quarters into a vending machine to get a prize out of it. Now, my mom's very crafty. She took these 2 wheels from 2 different pages of the journal and assembled this handy little decoder wheel for us to decode symbols like this. Unfortunately for us, it turned out that it was not yet time for us to decode these symbols. So we realized another approach was needed, and we probably had to first find what location we were going to. So I searched for bookstores in the city of Lancaster because it says we're looking for a shop of stories, and the first thing that came up is Pocket Books Shop, which is on Wheatland Avenue. So that makes sense for an avenue of wheat. Once we identified the location that we had to go to, we made our way there to continue the week's activities. Okay, we just made it to the Pocket Bookstore, so we're gonna see if we can find this gumball machine. We made our way into the bookstore and kept our eyes peeled for a gumball machine.
Okay, so I gotta choose.
And just a heads up, if you're not familiar, we do offer 15% off all.
Okay, I'll see that.
Soon enough, in the back corner of the store, we found our target. We've got, it looks like a decoder disc in this plastic ball, along with some more marbles. We got marbles last week. Yeah, but the letters on this disc are in a different order than the one in the book. So this is probably the disc that we need to use to decode those 4 letters at the bottom of the page. and get to the next part of the hunt.
So we sat down in the comfort of my parents' van and worked on decoding those symbols.
So I'm aligning the new cipher disk that we just got with our symbols from before. I'm getting ISBT.
With those 4 symbols decoded, we unlocked Challenge 2B2, which had the Keeper's Clue. It had a brief poem, and then this chart of symbols that seem to be wingdings, as well as arrows.
Humble clip on wingding grid will reveal 6 digits well hid. Lay the clip as arrows show. Let not your hand disturb the flow. Enclose the symbol so it is clear. At the other end, the truth will appear. You have any paper clips? Do you think if I asked them at the bookstore if they might have a paper clip? Why didn't Adam tell us we needed a paper clip?
Why indeed, Anthony? That's a very good question.
Oh. By some incredible miracle, I have a paper clip.
Let's pause there for a second, because it was actually not an incredible miracle that I happened to have a paperclip on me. You see, in my bag was all of the materials that we had received from Adam as we were going through the treasure hunt. We didn't realize it that day in the moment, but as I said in last video, when Adam sent us the diary, what was attached to the front of it? It was a note from Abe to his son. And how was it attached? With a paperclip. Adam had given us everything that we needed, we just didn't realize it at the time and thought that the paperclip wasn't important. Turns out, it was. Now that we had a paperclip in hand, it was pretty easy to lay the paperclip along this grid of numbers and wingdings in the direction of the arrows shown. And from that, we got another numeric combination.
820956. Let's try that. Loading. That was correct. We solved part 2.
Once we had used our paperclip to find the right numbers, we unlocked the next page of the journal, which gave us another symbol letter combination and another map, along with a poem to discover where we needed to go.
No key needed to open this stone lock. Lock is bolded. But it only works at 12 o'clock. 12 is bolded. At its end, check beneath the gangway, and a brass plate will be on display. I can probably... Lock 12? Lock 12. Is that a thing on the...
Susquehanna River.
Yeah.
And a quick Google search revealed that Lock 12 Historic Area is a location in southern Lancaster County. Interestingly, Lock 12 Historic Area is right next door to... Muddy Run, which is a callback to my treasure hunt video from 2 years ago.
Okay, we made it to Lock 12. We're not quite sure where to go yet, but I'm thinking we need to read through that poem.
So I pulled out my phone in order to load up the map that we had been given, except I discovered that I didn't actually have any cell service at all in this particular location. So at this point, we actually jumped back in the car, drove about 2 or 3 minutes down the road until I had cell service. I loaded up this map on my phone and took a screenshot so that we would be able to access it while actually hiking in the woods. See, this is the kind of things they don't just tell you in any treasure hunting documentary, so I hope you appreciate these valuable insights. So we made our way down the trail, and we were immediately greeted with a number of danger signs warning us that if water levels were particularly high, that we should probably get out of the river immediately, especially if any alarms sounded, so that was a bit scary. The poem told us that we were looking for a gangway, and I incorrectly thought that the highway bridge running over top of the trail here might be that gangway. I noticed a few people stopped and staring at this sign, so I thought maybe we were in the right area, but I later reread the map and realized that we were completely in the wrong direction. A short distance down this trail, we finally stumbled upon our first lock.
There's definitely a wall structure here, but I don't quite think this is it yet.
We thought that we were pretty close to this point of interest, the one furthest east on the map. The associated text says, "Cross over unlucky stones near the broken bones of a house long gone." So we knew that we were looking for these runes shown in this picture here, but we didn't actually know what unlucky stones was until I had an idea.
13th lock? Unlucky stones?
So we realized that this lock we were looking around wasn't the one that the park had been named after. This wasn't lock 12. We were actually at lock 13. And when the poem told us to cross over unlucky stones, we realized that that meant from the trail, we had to cross over to the other side, which is a bit obvious on this particular map, but keep in mind we're looking at small phone screens. Things like this sometimes get missed. Once we found the runes, the map told us that we were looking for a tree that was shaped like a hand reaching for the sky, and then we had to look tucked between the fingers.
All right, so here's the runes that we were supposed to be looking for, and we figured out that this set of trees here are the 5 fingers. There's 5 of them kind of reaching up. And if we move right along here and take a look down towards the base, we have our first plaque.
With our first plaque for the week found, we made our way all the way back to the parking lot because the other 3 were on the west side of the trail. We kept making our way down the trail and crossed over a couple of gangways, but we knew that the one we were looking for was also associated with another lock because that's how it looked on the map. So we kept going until we found the eponymous Lock 12.
There's a gangway at the end of the lock. That's what we're looking for.
Despite finding the gangway and being fairly certain we were in the right spot, it actually took us a while to look over this entire bridge. Top, bottom, left, right, all the sides. We just somehow kept not looking in exactly the right spot for several minutes. But eventually we managed to find Adam's sneaky little hiding spot and we got our next plaque. So we continued down the trail and we were told we were now looking for an old lean-to. On the way we encountered some fellow treasure hunters.
Trail.
Yes, thank you. Good luck to you guys.
You too.
And we found the lean-to that we were searching for. Right around the back among the rafters, we found our third plaque. With 3 plaques down, we made our way to the furthest plaque from the parking lot, which we were told would be near a pipe standing like a sentry. The trail eventually led back out onto this road, and after walking down the road for a little bit, we found these stairs.
That seems like what we're going up.
Shortly beyond the stairs, we found the metal pipe in question, and we knew that the tree nearby likely had our plaque.
I don't know, it says the tree's only 3 steps away, so I'm guessing it's this tree right here. Oh, there it is.
So we deciphered the symbols that we had been finding on the plaques with our brand new cipher disc, including the wooden wheel that we had gotten earlier that week, and then we entered that into the website to complete week 2. For completing week 2, we unlocked another page of the Alchemist's Ledger. This one reads, "Golden drops mere whispers of one. Gather the orbs, their secrets amass." And at this point, we had a pretty good idea of what the Alchemist's Ledger was asking us to do. Do you think you'd be a good treasure hunter? Leave a comment down in the comment section below for your guesses about what the Alchemist's Ledger pages are telling us to do. In the meantime, it was time to start week 3. We began with another Monday missive, just like the last one. This one said there is no Monday missive challenge. You will again collect everything that you need mid-journey. So we gathered once again on Saturday, April 26th, to begin the 3rd week of challenges.
The treasure call. Beneath the earth where shadows creep, a hidden trove in silence deep. The thrill of quest, the prize in view, a treasure found, adventure true. And the red letters are AOIOEYIU, which looks a lot like our Polybius square. Polybius square has all vowels.
Yes, we noticed that several of the vowels in that poem were red, and one of the pages in our diary was this Polybius square that had vowels across the top and vowels down the column. So we assumed we needed to pair up the vowels in this poem to get another set of 4 numbers.
Worked for me. Past the oldest market, farmers hold dear. Seek an ogre's bazaar that's quite Yeah, it's the troll market. Dad was right.
We knew pretty quickly here that Adam was probably sending us to the troll market, and that's because the troll market was one of only 2 places on Adam's list of sponsors for the year who had Saturday hours. You see, we had pieced together that the purpose of the Monday missives was likely to give us time to get to JBT Banks because they have very limited hours on Saturday. So, if JBT was housing one of the important pieces for that week, we would get that information in a Monday missive. However, if a different one of the sponsors was housing the important part that we needed that week, like the Pocket Bookshop had what we needed in week 2, then if they had Saturday hours, we didn't need the Monday missive, we had plenty of time to get what we needed on Saturday. So that pretty much limited the options to the troll market and like the Lancaster Historic Society, so we knew pretty quickly that we were going to the troll market this week.
Inside, tucked away, find Walsh's attic map on display. Its crimson glyphs you must decode. Use Abe's memoir to advance down the road. A final request before you complete. Ask the clerk, do you have anything to eat? Call, do you have anything to eat? Response, the only thing we serve here is tongue.
We've never actually been to the troll market before, so it took us a little bit of time to explore the buildings near where it's listed on Google Maps to figure out exactly how to get to it.
Here we go, Lancaster Troll Market.
There were a lot of people in this troll market, and I didn't want anybody to feel uncomfortable that I was filming, so excuse the neck camera as I walk around looking for the map that we needed to find. Eventually, I found something that looked pretty promising.
Yeah, I think it's
Here it is. Look at this.
We knew that we needed a map. We knew that there would be red symbols on it that we needed to decode, so this map looked pretty promising. However, we quickly realized that the poem told us to find Walsh's map, and this was not a map by Walsh. So we paused our search for the map, and I decided to go do the call and response with the person working at the troll market.
I'm gonna go ask, do you have anything to eat? Hello.
Hello?
Do you have anything to eat?
We do, but we just served tongue.
You just served tongue. Thank you very much. Sounds scrumptious. I got our tongue.
From the call and response, I was given a manila envelope that again had several marbles in it, and I was given this little beauty. This is an engraved wooden piece made to replicate the skeleton bones from the movie The Goonies. At the top we have a big circle with all of our symbols on it. At the bottom we have another set of symbols that are different than the ones at the top, and in the middle we have the phrase Magna Dolo Capient. We didn't quite know how to use that to our advantage yet, so I continued searching around for another map. This time we were more certain we had the correct map because there was a doubloon much like the one that we got in the first week of the treasure hunt. The symbols in the middle of this map looked a bit like Pigpen, except we realized that we had a grid in our book that put all of the letters of the alphabet into a grid. We realized that the dot in the center of each of these symbols was either on the left, the right, or the middle of the square, and that told us which letter we needed to use. Decoding the symbols in this way gave us the final phrase Portobello. When we entered the correct password, we got this page for the week 3B2 challenge. The page showed a silhouette of the piece that we had just been given, and it says the buzzard's bones reveal the way forward. Now there's a lot of pieces of information on this particular piece, but we had a pretty good idea of what we needed to use right away. In addition to all the symbols and other markings on the key itself, there are also 2 little triangles at the bottom of the key.
I think I just realized I think Mom's right. I just noticed the triangles at the bottom of this are probably gonna match the triangles on this page. So I need to find 2 triangles that match up.
Unfortunately, that's when we hit a little snag. It didn't take me too long to find a pretty promising pair of triangles. And these 2 triangles, 82 and 24, do work almost perfectly as a match for the key. It was so close to being correct that we were actually convinced that that was what the triangles of the key were trying to tell us, and when the password didn't work on the page, we thought that it was just something that we were going to use in a future week, maybe the final week of the hunt. We spent a bit longer at this location just outside the troll market, and then we actually went and got some lunch and spent some time over food thinking about it, and eventually we just sort of gave up and went back to my parents' house. But finally, after some more work, I eventually figured out what we had gotten wrong.
You can get these numbers, 2482. They're pretty much spot on. They're extremely close, but those numbers weren't correct. Instead, what we needed was these 2 numbers, which are also pretty much spot on, 3497. So that's what unlocked the next page.
We were given this page of the journal that again gave us a symbol to align with a letter on our decoder wheel. The poem this time gave us some information about a canal, and we were able to figure out pretty quickly from just some local knowledge as well as some details in the poem that this was talking about Union Canal. Again, we were given a map with 4 specific locations that we needed to visit in the park in order to find some plaques. So we started by parking in this lot and making our way to this particular plaque that says, "I find that if I just sit down to think, the solution presents itself." Unlike previous weeks of the hunt that were basically wooded areas with trails running through them, it was nice to have a change of scenery and hike through a relatively open park. We suspected from the map that the plaque would be on a park bench. Unfortunately, there was a kind gentleman and his dog who were sitting on the bench reading when we approached.
Hello. All right, we're making our way to that bench there, actually.
I explained that we were on a treasure hunt, and it seemed like this wasn't the first time that this gentleman had been disturbed by treasure hunters this afternoon, so he told us exactly where the plaque was located. So we left this man and his dog to their day, and we proceeded to the next plaque. This time we decided to park at the northernmost parking lot, and we were going for this plaque that was supposed to be towards the north end of the tunnel. Just like the previous week, we again found some fellow treasure hunters on our quest to this plaque.
Hello. Good luck to you guys. Happy hunting. Yeah, we got it here. It would be really cool to see a boat going through there, actually. It looks like something straight out of like a theme park.
This time, both of the plaques seemed to be within a short walking distance of this central parking lot, so we parked there and made our way to the next 2 plaques. Our first plaque was at a bench just above the opposite end of the tunnel.
All right, let's take a peek at where this one is.
For the 4th and final plaque, we had to hike into the woods a little bit and find a set of runes with a half-circle pit.
My dad found something up here. He did some bushwhacking, it seems, but maybe we're approaching it from the back. I'm in some trees right now, but this would appear to be our busted passageway. All right. Oh, here's our half-circle pit. And over here would seem to be the marker. All right, 4 more markers found. We did another week.
So we again had 4 plaques that had 4 symbols on them, and while you might think that we had to use the wooden disc of letters that we got in week 2 with the wooden wheel of symbols that we just got in this week to decode these symbols, that's actually not the case. Adam had made it very clear that the weeks were siloed with the exception of the 5th and final week. So that means we didn't have to use anything that we found in week 2 in order to solve what we were finding in week 3. Instead, we had to use this wheel of letters that we had in our notebook along with the key that we had gotten earlier this week to decode these symbols. Once we had done that, we successfully completed week 3 of the treasure hunt, and again we got a page of the Alchemist's Ledger. Amber flames, 100 unfold, stack them in order, let the digits pass. So that completed 2 more weeks of the treasure hunt. We were slowly unraveling the mysteries of a buzzard's memoir. We had solved what 1 of the quarters did of the 3 that we were supposed to carry with us, as well as the purpose of the paperclip that we didn't even know was going to be important. But we were still carrying a flathead screwdriver around with us pretty much everywhere that we went, and we had to use a blacklight somewhere. Where will we use that? We had to wait to find out. If you want the answers to these riddles as well as many more, and if you want to know how my team did in the treasure hunt overall, tune in next time where I will go over the 4th as well as the 5th and final weeks of the treasure hunt. Until then, I hope that you have a great day, and as always, happy escaping!